Hey, hi everyone. So welcome back to the recording again. So in the previous recording, we discussed about building a resume kind of web page over there. Correct? So today we'll be going and discussing about link tags in HTML over here. That's nothing but like we'll have certain URLs over here. The moment we click on that particular one, it will just navigate us for some other page or for different section within the same page over here. Okay, that's in order to achieve this particular link, we do have a tag called as a tag over here, where A stands for anchor, with the help of which we can directly go and navigate between different kinds of pages over here. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let's have a quick tour on what we covered in the previous recording. So this is how our resume is looking as of now over here. And let's say I want to have a URL on the top of this particular image over here. And on click of that, I want to load a Google page over there. Okay, in order to achieve that, I will just go ahead here. Let's say I want to have an anchor tag here. So for that, we do have a tag called as a tag over here, where A stands for anchor. Okay, where A stands for anchor. And we can see we directly got an attribute called href over here. Let's understand what is this href and we'll just proceed accordingly. So let's write a comment prior to that. Let's say A here stands for anchor tag. So now I want to say on click of this thing. Okay, let's say click here. I want to display the content called as click here on my UI. And let's say on click of this particular one, I want to load a Google page over here. So for that, we will write an URL. So let's say https://www.google.com. So let's save our application, and if we go back to our UI, and we should be able to see that particular URL over here. So we just got click here on the top left of my screen. The moment I hit on this particular one, click here, and we can just see it will directly load a Google page for us over there. Okay, and it's saying your connection is not private. It's because I'm using a incognito mode over here. That's totally fine. I will just say I will go to the advanced method and let's proceed to Google anyways. Okay, and if we can see, we just got our Google page on the screen accordingly. Okay, so that's how we can directly go and get our Google page on the screen. Not necessary it should be Google all the time. It can be any sort of URL. We can directly add it over here. And if we can see the link prior to hit on this particular button, it was blue color. The moment I hit on that particular link, the color got changed from blue to purple here, indicating that we already visited that particular link or that we already hit it on that particular URL over there. And if you can see, the moment I hit on that particular cursor or the moment I hover on that particular text called click here, my cursor pointer is getting changed over here. Okay, so at the same time, by default, we have certain functionalities for URL. So if we can see if the color of that particular font is being blue or purple, and even we got an underline without even specifying any sort of styles or text formatters over there. That's the default functionalities what we usually get for our anchor tag. Okay, so we do have an attribute called href, where href stands for hyper reference over here, where href stands for hyper reference. So that's nothing but we can specify on click of this particular one where exactly I want to land or navigate over here. Okay, not necessary only contents, you can even have it for your images as well. Let's say I want to comment this particular one, and let's say on click of this image, I want to navigate somewhere. Okay, let's go ahead here. And if you can see, the moment I hover on this image, that's nothing but the moment I position my cursor on this particular image, the cursor pointer is not getting changed here. Neither it's not a clickable image as well. Okay, now let's say on click of this thing, I want it to take for my GitHub page. Okay, so let's say on click of this image, I want to take it for my GitHub page over here. So let's say GitHub, and if I just go ahead, so this is the GitHub URL, right? So I just copy this URL from HTTPS and I will just go back over here. Let's come back to editor and I will just remove all these things over here. And let's say I want to have an anchor tag. On click of this, I want to load this particular page. Okay, that's nothing but my GitHub account. And I will remove all this particular image over here and we will encapsulate or write it between our anchor tag here. Okay, or let's write it between our anchor tag. Okay, so I just added my image within the anchor tag over here. So now if I just go back to my output over here, if we can see, the moment I hover on this image over here, see the cursor pointer is getting changed, right? From arrow symbol to the index finger pointing over here, correct? Now we can just go and click on this particular image over here. So let's click on this image. You can see within the same tab, we started getting our GitHub page here, right? Within the same tab, we started getting our GitHub page over here, correct? So again, we can just go back over here and we'll be back to our main page over here. So that's how we can directly go and make our applications interactive with the help of our anchor tags over here. Okay, not necessarily. Okay, as of now, if we can see again, when I hit on this thing, it will directly take me to that particular page. Not necessarily the same URL. You can just go and specify whatever URL we wish over there. It will just land us to that particular page. Okay, one good website was about your GitHub page over there. Similarly, you can link to your LinkedIn or any other WhatsApp or Instagram or any other social media, and we can just proceed accordingly. So is this just to navigate from one page to another page for different URL? No, you can navigate among the same page as well. So let's say we have something called connect with me here, right? When I click, let's say we have an option called connect with me here. When I click on that one, I want my page to get loaded with this particular connect with me. How is it possible? So for that, what we'll do here, let's just say we will go and search for anchor in MDN tag only. Okay, so I just say anchor in MDN over here. Okay, so let's just search for that particular one. That's nothing but I'm going to Mozilla Developers Network, where I'm searching about an anchor tag over here. Okay, so now we just got our site loaded here, right? Where we have all the details about our anchor tag. So let's say I want to go somewhere over here. Let's go kind of down. And if we can see, we have certain target here, right? I will click on this particular target and we can see in the URL, we got appended with hashtag followed by target here. So what's this hash? Hash in HTML or CSS indicates it's an ID over here. And what's the ID name? The ID name here is target. So now if I just copy this URL and if I just go back and if I paste this particular URL in my browser over here, so if we can see, it automatically loaded my page to the target tab here, correct? So it did not load on the start over here, rather it automatically took me to that particular target. Okay, let's refresh again. So if we can see, it will directly navigate us for target value over here. So let me just open it once again. So if I just go and if I click on that particular URL again, so it will directly take me to the target value over here. See, I just got the target over here. So how is it possible? Because it's appending our ID in the URL here. Okay, let's achieve the same. For that, before going ahead here, I want to add some more contents after connect with me. So I will just go ahead here. Let's say I want to add a paragraph tag at the bottom over here in order to get some good contents. Let's say I will add a paragraph and let's say I want to add a lorem of 4000 words. Okay, let's say I want to have a good amount of words on the screen. Okay, so let's go back and then let's just go back to our browser in order to see how exactly it's reflecting right now. And if we can see, we just got some good amount of words on the screen here, right? So now let's say I want to build an option called click here. Okay, I want to build an option called click here. On click of that, I want me to navigate to this particular connect with me over here. So for that, okay, let's just go back to editor and I will just go ahead here all the way towards top. Okay, let me just go ahead and let's minimize that particular paragraph because it's a really large amount of content on the screen. So I'll just click on this thing so that we'll just get it minimized. And let's say after this particular emphasizes, okay, so after this particular table, I want to add one more content over here. So on click of that, I want my application to load directly to this particular contact here. Okay, so for that, I will just go ahead here. Let's write a attribute called ID here. So we have an attribute called ID. So let's hit on ID and you can write any value for this particular ID here. So let's say connect. Okay, so on click of this thing, I want the ID name to be connect. You can rename it as per your convenience. Let's say connect with me. Okay, let's say this is my ID only. Okay, and if we can see, I'm using camel casing formatting over here, which simply means if we have more than one word, the first letter of the next word should be in the uppercase. So we have three words here, connect with me. The first letter of the second word is with, that's nothing but W, so it's in uppercase. Similarly, the last word, okay, we have here is me, and the first letter of me is nothing but M, which is in the uppercase here. So I just renamed it to connect with me. We can just change it as per our convenience. Let's go all the way towards top and I want to have it over here. Okay, let's say after this particular paragraph, I want to have one more paragraph over here. You can just say paragraph or we can directly, okay, let's say paragraph and I will just say connect with me. Okay, now in order to make it hyperlink over here. Okay, so now if I just go back and if I just click on that particular connect with me, it's not a clickable one right now. Why? Because it's just a simple paragraph tag. So I need to give some behavior. For that, I will just go ahead and let's say I want to build it as an anchor tag. And if we can see, now I will just remove this anchor and I will encapsulate this entire paragraph within this particular anchor. Again, is it mandated to have a paragraph here? It's up to us. It's not a mandatory one. We can either encapsulate within a paragraph or you can directly remove the para as well. Okay, even that works fine here. And what's the ID we gave over here? The ID is nothing else than connect with me here, right? So let's copy this ID and all the way towards top. Now I need to specify that particular ID. So I will just say the ID, but please make a note over here. Prior to the ID, we need to prefix it with a hash symbol over here. We need to prefix it with a hash symbol over here. So now if I just come back to my browser, and if we can see the moment I hit on connect with me here, if you can see it just took me directly to connect with me page, correct? See, it just scrolled down directly to connect with me. So now if I just share this particular URL to some other people, so if I just share this particular URL here, and if we can see it will directly take me to connect with me only. It won't load at the top, rather it will directly take us to connect with me, correct? So why? Because it's because of our URL. So if we can see in the URL, we got added with our connect with me, that ID, what we mentioned over here. That's the beauty of our anchor tag as well. Okay, that's the beauty of our anchor tag over here. Again, we can just go and make any sort of such particular tags over here. So let's just refresh in order to show you one more thing. So I will just refresh the screen over here. Let's say on click of this particular web development. Okay, let's say on click of this web development, I want to navigate to certain page over here. Let's say on click of this web development, I want to navigate to certain page over here. So for that, let's just go back again, and we do have a web development keyword here, right? So I can just encapsulate it within an anchor tag again. So let's say I will just come back over here. Let's say I want to have an anchor tag. On click of this thing, I want to load, let's load our GitHub page again. So for that, I will just say https://github.com. Let's write the GitHub user name over here, where I will be posting all this particular code over there. Okay, so let's say I want to have all this particular one, and let's just go ahead here and I will just encapsulate that particular keyword here. So now if I just go back here, and please make a note, we have that URL. Okay, so if we can see, there is a difference here. The web development URL is in a blue font or in a blue text over here, right? Whereas the connect with me is in a purple text over here. So if we can see, the web development is in a blue color text over here, whereas connect with me is in a purple. Why is it so? It indicates you already hit or visited this particular anchor called as connect with me. That's the reason it turned to purple. Whereas web development, it's still in blue, indicating we haven't visited that particular site here. So now if I click on that particular web development, okay, and we can just see it directly navigated to my GitHub page over here. My bad, I made a typo. So that's the reason it's not working as expected. So I need to just go back and let's say 1917. Okay, so now if I just come back over here, so now if I click on this thing, and it will directly take me to that my GitHub page over here. See, that's how we can just go and we got our GitHub page here. If I come back, and if we can see the anchor tag, okay, the font color has been changed from blue to purple here, indicating that we already visited that particular URL, which is nothing but you already hit on that URL. So it's just an identifier with the help of which we will get to know, okay, we already visited this particular URL. Okay, that's the beauty of our anchor tags here. But again, there is a one more catchy over here. So if we can see, the moment I hit on this particular web development, it's loading that GitHub page on the same tab here, right? It's loading that GitHub page on the same tab here. But what if I want to load it on a different tab? Let's say I want to load it on a new tab over here. Is that possible? Yes, it's possible. It's possible with the help of an attribute. We can just go and add one more attribute called as target over here. And by default, the value over in target will be underscore self here. By default, the value for target will be underscore self here, which simply means it will be loading on the same tab. Now, if I just override that target with underscore blank over here, and if we just go back, let's refresh our site over here. And now, if I click on this web development here, we can see it started loading on a different tab here for my GitHub page. Correct? Rather than loading on the same tab, it started loading on a different tab. By default, what's the value over here? By default, okay, let me show again. So if we click on this particular one, it will load a new tab. You see, as many number of times we click on that, it will just load a new tab on the screen accordingly. Okay. So now what if I want to load it on a same tab? Then you can just override that particular value. You can remove underscore blank, or you can even specify it as underscore self here. And now the moment I just change it to underscore self, it will load on the same page over here. So let me just remove all the unnecessary tabs over here. And now if I click on this web development, we can see it's loading on the same tab. Rather than going with a new tab, it's loading on the same tab over here. That's the beauty of our target attribute. Okay, in our anchor tag, we have two important attributes where we have a target underscore self is nothing but it will be loading on the same tab, whereas underscore blank will load on a different tab over there. And you can specify href over here where we can specify some URL. It will just load that particular website on our application, where URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator here. Similarly, we also discussed about hash ID, with the help of which the moment you click on that, it will just load that particular ID in the same page. And we can also do one more thing here. So let's say I want to show about us over here. Okay, let's say I want to show about us over here. Let's say I have some more contents here. So for that, let's say I want to show one more paragraph over here, and let's say I want to write about us. Okay, so what we are doing over here is nothing else than, if we can see, we have about us, right? I want this thing to be a clickable one. Okay, in order to make this as a clickable one, I will just wrap it again within our anchor tag here. So let's say I want to have an anchor, and then I just have this particular about us over here. So now if we can see, we got about us, right? And if I click on this thing, it's not loading to any page over here. See, if I click on this about us, what's happening? It's just refreshing the same page over there. It's not taking me to anywhere. Why is it so? That's very simple, because we haven't provided any sort of URL in the href here. So let's say if I don't have any URL and I want to reboot to the or same page over there. Okay, let's say if I want to just navigate it to the same page. Let's say if we have a dummy URL and we don't have any sort of URL as of now, in such case we can just add hashtag over there, where hash simply indicates it's a dummy URL. It will load the same page on the screen. Okay, so now if I just go ahead here and if I click on about us, we can see it just loaded on the same page, and it's appending that hash over here in the URL structure. Okay, but now let's say I want to have a different HTML page here. So for that, I will just create one more page. Let's say the page name as about us, and let's say it's an HTML page. So I just go with HTML, and then I just say I want to have a simple page over here. So for that, let's say the tab name as about us, and let's write some heading. So let's say h2. Hello, this is about my resume, and let's write some good contents over here. Okay, for that, let's say paragraph, and I just say lorem of 400. Okay, so let's say I want to add some contents on the screen over here. So for that, let's just have these many contents on the screen over here, and I will just minimize this paragraph here. So now on click of that particular anchor tag here, okay, that's nothing but on click of this about us, I want to load this about us page over here. So how is it possible? So for that, if we can see right now, this about us is present in the same folder called as web development, where we have our resume.html file as well. So for that, I can just go ahead here, and now I can specify the file name with the help of our relative path or with the help of our absolute path. And now I can just go and I can say about us.html over here. That's nothing but this particular page. Okay, that's nothing but this particular page. So now I can just go, I can directly see the file name. So I will just say about us over here. So now if I just save, and if I just go back to our browser over here, so now let's click on that particular about us over here. So now I just hit on this about us, and we can see it just took me to the new page what we built here. That's nothing but about us over here. Correct? It just took me to our about us over here, and we can see we got it heading and paragraph over here. Again, it's loading on the same tab because by default we have a target as underscore self. If we wish it to take on a new tab, then we can just update the value from underscore self to underscore blank, which will just load on a new page. See, that's the beauty of having our anchor tag. Okay, that's the beauty of having our anchor tag. Do we need to write just a file name? Not necessary. You can even go and just say / indicating I am searching for a file here, and the file name is about us.html here. And now if I just go back and if I click on the about us, it will still load the same page over here. Is this the only way? No, we can just go with a complete path as well. So for that, I can just see here, this about us is present in local disk E with a web development folder, about us.html, right? So I can just go ahead here, let's say copy relative path, and then you can just go ahead and paste that particular path as well. That's nothing but the same thing. See, about us.html, and even on click, it will just load the same page over here. Again, yeah, there are different types of path. If we can see, I can just go ahead here, let's say right click, we can just copy the path as well, and then I can write the complete path. Even that works fine over here. Okay, so that's nothing but under E, we have a web development where we have about us.html. So for that, I can just go back and let's click on about us once again, and if we can see, it's still loading our web page as expected over here. So you can directly write the file name, or you can go with the absolute path. In order to go with that, you can directly go with /, or you can get it from the copy path here. Nor you can even go with the relative path. You can copy any one of these things and you can paste it over there. It will still load your application as expected over there. Okay. And is this href only limited to our HTTPS or www.world web only? Not exactly. It's not restricted to for our HTTPS protocol. We can still work on different types of protocols as well. If you remember at the very first recording, we discussed about web fundamentals, where we went to know or in order to understand what are the different types of protocols and other vagara stuff over there, right? So we can even have certain good email, or let's say on click of this email, I want to navigate to an email ID only. Okay, so on click of this thing, I want to open a Gmail. Okay, let's say if you have a Gmail as a default mail sender in your system, it will directly open a Gmail for that particular email ID. Or let's say on click of certain phone number, I want to load a phone number, it will directly load that particular default calling application as well. So how is it possible? So for that, let's just go ahead here. Let's say I want to have my email. So right now what we'll do, we just encapsulate this email within an anchor tag. So let's say anchor over here, and let me load this particular email over here, and I will just wrap that particular email here. On click of this email, I want to load an email over here. So for that, rather than going with a web protocol called as HTTPS here, so if we can see, we added HTTPS on the top right. See, we added HTTPS over here as a protocol, which we are mainly using for web surfing or in order to browse our web application. Now what we can do, we can even specify our Gmail ID. So for that, I will directly say mail to, indicating I am using a protocol called mail to for which particular application, and followed by you can write your Gmail ID over there. So let's say abc@gmail.com over here. So now if we just save and if we go back to our output, so we can see we just got our email in the anchor tag over here. So on click of this thing, it will just ask in which application you want to use right now. So you want to go with a mail or Google Chrome or Edge or Outlook or whatsoever. We can click on that. It will directly send an email over there. Okay. And as of now, I'm using a dummy URL here. So you can specify your authenticated email as well. Similarly, we can specify our phone number as well. So for that, let's say I want to have a phone number. So for that, I will just go with a paragraph over here, or let's say an anchor tag, and within which I want to have a paragraph, or you can skip para as well. And let's say I want to have my number over here. Okay, so I'll write some dummy number as of now. So let's say 98765432110. And on click of this thing, I want to load directly to my calling application. Okay, it can be your Truecaller or it can be your system mobile direct caller application as a default one whatsoever. So I can just go with a protocol called as TEL, stands for telephone colon. You can specify that particular contact number. Let's say since we are in India, I will append it with +91 over here, followed by the number over here. So that's nothing but 98765432110 as a dummy example over here. So now if we just go back to our UI, let's just go back to our UI, and then we can see we have a contact number. On click of this thing, it will directly navigate, and right now it's asking open pick an app over here. So it's going for that particular one. We can directly pick certain app and we can just go ahead accordingly. So if we're loading the same thing on a mobile application, it will directly open our default calling application over there. That's the beauty of our anchor tags protocol over here. So let's have a quick revise on things what we covered so far in this particular recording. We discussed about our anchor tags and we got to know we can have a dummy URL. We can have any sort of contents in between as a URL, and we can navigate to different page on the same tab or on the different tab as well. We even understood the on click of certain anchor tag, it will just load to certain different section or different heading on the same page as well. We even covered about our email, with the help of which we have something called mail to protocol. On click of that, it will load a mail to my application. Similarly, we visited about our phone as well, for which we had a protocol called as TEL. On click of which it will directly load our calling application so that we can make a direct call to that particular number. Similarly, we visited about us page where we understood we can call a different HTML page from the existing HTML page. So these were the contents what we covered in this particular recording. Hope all of us enjoyed and learned something new about our anchor tag. And that's it for this particular recording. And we'll get back in the next recording.